guys? Welcome back to another brand new video. This is the ErickMars podcast. You're watching two Scribes. I'm here with David and a special guest star. For the first time ever, we have a guest. David! Another David.
Another David.
So I'm gonna legally be changing my name to David now. So
we can be...
Yeah. So you guys wanna introduce yourselves real quick, or specifically you?
My name is David, Brownsville native, grew up here all my life. Currently, what the most relevant thing right now is that I'm a seminary student, doing my Master's of Divinity, recently married, and other than that, those are the two major things. Currently I'm a volunteer chaplain at the local halfway house here with the county. Outside of those three things, that's the bulk of my personality, my time where it's invested in at the moment.
That's awesome. Honestly, we met each other at our church. And immediately when I was talking to you, I was like, man, this guy has a characteristic, like he has a charismatic personality. I was like, I got to get him on the podcast, Immediately I told David, I was like, David, what do you think of this? And he was like, obviously, no. I'm like, who is this guy? No, but obviously he was like, yeah, dude, that sounds awesome. And so this is the first time we're ever going to have a guest. And we're going to try to make this as a consistent thing.
Okay.
But this is fun. This is the first time actually like being able to kind of bounce, because normally we bounce off of each other, but this is where you can jump in. So if we're gonna have a conversation and you want to chime in, that would be perfect. And
well, I'm excited to be the third bouncer, and it's kind of hard to be charismatic when you have three cameras pointing at you.
Is this new to you? This
is new to me, yeah, because it's such a not a confined space, but it's like a camera likes action. And yeah, when you meet me, when we talk, it's very off the cuff, and I know there's not cameras listening.
If you want me to like edit stuff out, you just let me know. It's all good. That means that this video is gonna come out in December.
It's just gonna be chopped after chop.
But yeah, so today we have a really important topic. It's the ability to discern whether something's coming from God or something is just worldly, something that your mind, your brain is creating that. And so this is the big question, David. Have you personally ever been in a position where you, let's say, quote unquote, been spoken to, or you have the sense of something like, oh, this is something I need to pursue? And did you have that conversation with yourself? Like, is it just worldly or?
So boil down, discerning God's calling in your life. Yeah. So, that question comes up often. I think as a believer, you come into the faith, you're excited about the faith, and then you want to make sure that you're placed properly within the faith. And so it quickly becomes a question of, well, what should I do? What am I meant to do? And well, first of all, I would say we've already been given the calling. I think the Lord has already answered that question through Scripture. We all have a calling, which is live a holy life, continue in union with Christ, and grow in deeper understanding in that, and grow into maturity. So when we ask the question, when most people ask you the question, well, what's the Lord calling you to do? What have you discerned? Or when you ask that to yourself, what you're really trying to ask is, what am I trying to do professionally about that, I guess? Because it seems to be geared constantly to a profession or a job. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, I get you.
And I don't necessarily think, there is a calling, right? It can end up professionally. It can look like a certain task on earth, right? It has to eventually. But I think the primary thing is that you've already been given the call, which is to grow in knowledge, grow in maturity, walk with the Lord, serve Him and serve others. And so I'm not a big fan of the question, because I think the Lord gives you a lot of freedom to have choices as far as what you'd like to do.
Yeah.
He's given you a personality. He's given you passions. He's given you things you're good at. And so it's just really looking at those things and deciding, well, what do I want to do?
A part of that is also the ability to, this is an assumption that prior to this question, you have prayed for wisdom. So you're able to understand off of, not just through Scripture, what's coming and bouncing off to you, because that's obviously been a thing for me. I'm like reading, and it's just like, it's as if God's just calling me out right there and then, especially in Romans, for example. And so when I get that, I'm like, wow, that was like a slap in the face, and I needed that. And some people needed stuff like that too. So, but that wouldn't never come if I never pray for wisdom, if I never take that initiative. And so when you finally do, you get that call and you say, okay, like for like I said, Romans 21, I believe, towards the very end, it talks about gifts that God gives you, and one of those is like if you have the gift to be generous, very generous, like specifics like that. And so like there's when it comes to like a calling per se, like you mentioned, you said you didn't like the question because it feels a little bit more like a confined, like structured, forceful almost. But it's true. It's like in reality, when you read that, when I was reading it, I was like, I'm like 30% of these. Like I have probably like an ounce of every one. You're not necessarily specifically only forced to have one, but when it comes to leadership, or when it comes to like having the ability to lead by example, I'm like, well, that one costed me a little bit more than all the other ones.
Sure.
And so like obviously there's difference of like thousands of characteristics that we all have, but it stems off of asking for wisdom, praying for wisdom, and if God gives you a little bit or all out of it, regardless, it's borrowed glory.
Sure.
First thought of how can you discern God's calling, I was thinking of it more of a day-to-day type of thing.
Okay.
But I mean, it can fit right into the whatever you've been called to do, because whether it's day-to-day or it's your lifelong vocation or whatever it's going to be, it's more of a do it as if you're doing it unto the Lord.
Right.
And I found that that's pretty helpful for me in my work, because sometimes I don't want to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, man, my boss is on me. I don't want to do this, but really, am I doing it for my boss whose office is down the hall, or am I doing it to represent my God? Because as a Christian, that's what we're doing when we're at work.
Yeah.
And that's where it stems off of, just where like the scripture says, you shouldn't be lazy. You shouldn't just like sit down and wait for $1 million to fall in your lap. Like if you pray and say, God, I want to learn how to, let's say for example, learn a new language. God will put that in your heart. He'll put that fire under your legs and make you run. And He will put people, and I've seen it personally, He'll put people in your way to teach you something. And this again, I keep bringing it back to wisdom, is like, well, I know not to just issue and be like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, and I'll figure it out on my own. I'm gonna personalize it. It's like, you prayed for this, you can't figure it out on your own. This is the whole reason why you prayed in the first place, is you're giving it to God.
Yeah. So the reason I don't like that question is only because, and yes, we should be praying for wisdom and guidance. But I think when people ask that, or when people ask that of themselves, what's my calling? They're always talking about a profession, and it's always the idea that, I need to find the thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
I think, the Lord will have you do many things. You'll wear many hats, and being which is going to be the primary hat that I wear forever until the day that I die. I don't know if that should be the focus, but I know that the Lord does answer that for some people, and some people say, hey, I'm called to be a pastor, and then those people will pastor for the next 30, 40 years until they die on the pulpit, but that's not everybody's calling. The Lord may have you do something for 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, a few months, 10 years, and then it's something else, so not being hyper fixed on finding the permanent hat, but probably what you should be, working towards is, am I willing to be flexible wherever the Lord's willing to take me once my time is up wearing this hat, this profession, this task, this ministry.
Yeah.
And just be more flexible than hyper fixated on the thing that you're going to carry for you, carry with you forever, which is unlikely. At least in my life, I've done several things, and I see in other people's lives that the Lord has them doing something here for a while, and then it's something else completely different.
Yeah, and that's in God's timing. In reality,
God's timing, yeah.
It's like God calls you and says, all right, like it's time to change complete different gears, and you're just there like, I thought we were walking. Oh, I didn't know we were in a car, And it's like, that's how it is.
It changes up,
Yeah, so, it's in God's timing. And I genuinely believe that in a perspective, like outside looking in, it's very impressive to see how people like can be very dedicated to, like, let's say, like you mentioned, like be a pastor for the rest of your life.
Sure.
And I've met people that were like super hardcore, like gang members. Like I'm talking about like high status, and they'll just switch entire lives, and God calls them and says, this isn't the life I want you to have, and walk this way. And now, of course, they could just say no and rebuke it and never do that. But
sure,
the person that I met, he ended up being a pastor until the day he passed. So and I want to ask both of you guys, like in a personal setting, what would be like a great example where you had that like situation, like you had that conversation?
Okay, so pretty recent, there was this girl I was into. Let's just talk about relationships right now. Okay. There's a girl I really liked. We've been friends for a long time, and I was like, should I ask this girl? I mean, she's a Christian. She's got a lot of the qualities that I like. Obviously, she's not perfect, but I think she'd be good for me and I'd be good for her. And I was just waiting, right? And I was praying and I got a ton of peace about asking her out. And she said no, but I was like, no, like, I think God wanted me to do this, right? Like, this was meant to happen, even if it was a no.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Like, it was, we were in each other's lives for that amount of time that God had us there.
Yeah.
And now God is moving us in different directions, which is completely fine. But I thought, because there's a lot of people who are like, or at least I have some friends who say, I don't know if I should ask this person out. I'm scared. Like, what if they don't like me? Or what if they leave me? Or whatever it is. And it's like, pray for wisdom. Ask God for his timing. And if you feel peace, like I did, or at least in my case, I felt peace to ask her out. And I was okay afterwards. I didn't fall apart. There wasn't, oh my goodness, like, what a huge mistake. What did I do? It was it is what it is. And it's, since we're both Christians, it was just how God wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Did she say anything about why she said no?
No, and I didn't ask. Should I have asked?
I mean, maybe, you never know. Maybe it's something you gotta like, so any feedback? It's like, well, maybe just, I don't know. You never know. Why not ask, Mm-hmm. But then the asking.
I don't know. It's a little too much, I think.
It depends, but I mean, I would be curious. I mean, if I'm going to walk away with a no, I guess I could be at peace with it. The Lord sovereignly, this is not it. But, it's just going to be one of those itches for me, like, oh, why?
I don't know.
So, I don't know. I'm
David. Don't you know who I am?
Don't you know who I am? Yeah. It's like, no, but I mean, you're curious. Like, is it, maybe you don't.
Well, I mean, we knew each other for so long. It was more of I just don't have romantic feelings for you, which is the way I took it. Because I know her pretty well. So if there had been some issue, I'm pretty sure she would have been like, dude, like, look at what you're doing. Like, why would I be interested in you?
Sure. Oh my God. I mean, that's tough because I think my discerning, I would say it hasn't been, I guess, beautiful or really structured or very biblically consistent. I mean, I'm definitely a broken vessel being repaired by the Lord month by month, year by year. And the only reason why I've ended up in anything that's fruitful and landing in marriage, landing in seminary, is that the Lord didn't treat me based off of my mistakes, where there was gaps in my thinking or whatever. He kind of filled in those gaps, basically that the Lord redeems is kind of what I'm getting at, because our discernment, sometimes we're not as patient with that process as we should be. And we rush headlong into certain things, and then there's mistakes, there's consequences that could have been avoided. But then again, it's those consequences and all those missteps that give you wisdom. And so having really strong, good discernment doesn't happen on day one. It's kind of, you're also learning discernment while you're trying to discern, So as far as like a certain moment in my life, I'd say everything. I mean, I'm constantly having dialogue with the Lord as far as like, am I headed the right way? Am I in delusion? Am I lying to myself? Et cetera, and looking at Scripture to see, is there a parallel story? Is somebody else, have they gone through some of my same circumstances? And then also just reaching out to other people, in your church and like, hey, I'm in the middle of making a decision, work-wise, relationship-wise. Here's all my cards. Here's everything that I'm seeing. Am I seeing correctly? And so, kind of discerning how to discern.
And that's good that you mentioned that, because there's probably a viewer right now that feels the exact same way. And so that's probably one of the main reasons why they even clicked on the video, because of the title.
Sure.
And so, I don't want you to feel like, not necessarily like not proud, but like it's a good thing that you're going through this, because you're eventually gonna get to the other side and you're gonna be like, hey, I've been in that position when you talk to someone else. And so like in David's position, it's like, oh, I've already experienced it. And obviously when it comes to like relationships, whatever, that could be very hard on someone. So to take away peace from that is like, well, not a lot of people say that,
Sure.
And so that's why I say wisdom is like the foundation of that. And we shouldn't really like necessarily like you mentioned earlier, like personalize our own path in our life, because if we do, we're just gonna make mistakes, and like we're gonna continuously do that. But a part of those mistakes would end up building us.
Sure.
So
the Lord redeems the missteps, and then you find out later that the previous missteps gave you character, gave you additional wisdom, because it's not just some full download. It's not like the Lord just puts a whole thing in you, and then you're like, oh well,
like a program.
I have all the wisdom to make all the proper decisions. And then sometimes the Lord just gives you just a little bit just to get to the next thing, and even on your way to the next thing, you fumble it,
Yeah.
You know, but he's already wrote that into your story. You're not shocking him with your fumbling. Doesn't mean you should be careless, but the mistakes are held up by mercy and grace as a believer.
It's funny how you mentioned that, because I was gonna say something I always say is, and I think I said this last time on another podcast episode, but I was saying heaven is not made for perfect people. Heaven is made for the forgiven people. So if you made one mistake, you're already qualified to get there. I think I said this last time to you, but it's just like, yeah. So when you make a mistake and God says to do something and you completely go the opposite way, you're like, now I'm unworthy. Don't. And that's like a very, I would say, like a parasitic mindset, because you're hurting yourself. It's like, is your sin truly higher and greater than God? Like, no. You guys want to ask a question?
I think I want to include something. I think a perfect example is Solomon, right?
Mhm.
Wisest man to ever live.
Yeah.
And the kingdom after him divided in two because he built what was it? What are they called?
Temples for
Was it temples or
pagan
like
gods?
Yes.
They're doing a lot of that.
Well,
And the 700 wives.
The 700 wives
Yeah.
played a role, definitely. But I mean, he had the plan laid out from the beginning. God had spoken to them and told them, you're not supposed to have many wives, no foreign wives if you're a king.
They'll corrupt
And
you. Yeah.
they'll corrupt you, and don't raise sacrificial or temples or whatever it was to pagan gods. And he went and he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, part of the consequence was the kingdom was divided in two.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting you mentioned that, because it's like, this is the wisest man ever to be,
Sure.
and it says in the scriptures, it says to ever live continuously. Like, that means there's never gonna be another person like that. And it's just like, whoa, because even someone that could be so wise can make a mistake.
Yeah, it's true.
In the book of 1 Samuel, I think it's in 15, I believe, it talks about Saul. And it's actually interesting because he's being spoken to God, saying like, do certain things and do this thing, and he's going the opposite way. And he's also, because we actually learned this in the Bible study in our church, but he's like personalizing this. He's like, and then he says, don't eat. Like, we're about to go to war, don't eat, and we'll do this as a fasting thing. And God never tells him to do that. So not just him and his son, but the entire army also. So now everyone's just gassed. They're tired. They're hungry, and they're not eating. And then later on, they found out that his son ate something, and they were like, "Well, your father just said that if anybody eats, they now have to die." And it's just like, no, God never said that. And then Saul says, "All right, let's just kill my son." And he straight up just like immediately wanted to kill his son, and everyone was just like, we're not gonna kill him. Like, he saved the war. Like, he's the one that did the most in the battle. Like, that doesn't make sense. And so it's that part. It's just like, you can have faith, but yet you can ruin it. You can personalize what God's trying to tell you. And it's like, God's never telling you to do all these things and follow this path that you want to go to. And it's like, slow down, be still. And so I think that's very important, because it's a example that comes out on Scripture, and I feel like it's a perfect example. Specifically because it's outrageous, like how Saul can just like cast out his own son in assumption that that's what God's trying to say.
Yeah, the voice in your head, you can get it mixed up pretty badly and think, oh, the Lord wants me to have a bigger house, to have this or do that, and anytime it kind of feeds into the carnal side of you, you should think twice. Take a double take and go, wait a minute. Is this really the Lord? And then vet it with, any idea you may have, vet it against Scripture, and then ask yourself if those things that you feel you're being pushed towards, do they build you up in your faith, in your walk with the Lord, or are they building things externally? And just see if does this help me walk better and faster towards Christ, or does this impede my walk? Does it slow it down? No. Does it cause damage? Or maybe not, but does it put me at risk to fall into sin or a greater sin? Is this, do I have the strength to get there if that is what I'm being called to do? And so you got to kind of vet it, But who knows? It's so tough. Yeah, it's so tough.
Yeah, and it's like not expected to master it, like you said, in one day.
You're gonna mess up. Just know that right now. If there's anything you can take away from this, is that you're gonna struggle in discerning It's never going to be super clear. It can have its moments of full clarity. There'll be times in your life where it's like, boom, there it is. And you're like, wow, things worked in a very providential type way. And then the clarity will just leave you. You're like, oh, well, I had it really down. I knew what I did, and I did it. And then now I don't know. You're going to just do this number in and out of clarity. Because the Lord needs to leave you in tension. And because I think that grows faith. You know, if you had everything all mapped out, like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then next year I'm going to do this, and then that, and that. I've never seen it that structured. I mean, I'm not saying people don't have that experience, but it's a lot more textured.
Yeah.
I think the time where you for sure know what not to do is when the Bible already told you don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's probably the easiest way, the only time where you're 100%, oh, for sure I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it kind of jumps me back to Genesis, how God made it so simple. It's like, you can eat absolutely anything in the Garden of Eden, but Adam and Eve don't eat the fruit of knowledge. And that's just the one thing you got to do, like just avoid that. And they ended up, falling into that temptation or that lie and that deceit. And so when it comes to deceivement, that's a big part of it, because I know a lot of people, and I have another series where I watch videos, and we would watch them and react to them doing let's say, for example, like contacting the dead or whatever. And so I'm like, these ghosts, these spirits, they're not necessarily your children, your family, you're the people that fast. Like, these are demons lying to you, and so you have to have that ability to understand and be like, this is not the way, this is not the path that I need to go to. And truly only God is the only path, Yeah. But off of my perspective or my personal experience, way long time ago, I think towards the end of 2023, God told me, you go start praying for people. And like, I felt it in my heart and I felt it in my soul, truly, like, if I pray for these people, they will be healed. And I was like, okay. And I did what I had to do, and it would work. The thing was, towards as I was doing it, I started personalizing it. I was like, well, I could tell them to do this and do that. God never told me to do all that stuff. Like, He just said, just pray for them. And so that's when I was like, all right. And that was when I just shifted, and it was like, I don't try to make it make sense. I just do it because God says it, and it works, Works.
So I have a question for you, right? Because you mentioned, it's just off the top of my head, because I've been thinking about this too, right? There's no personal revelation. You don't hear directly from God. But in the New Testament, you have like a couple of hints of like, well, it might still happen. I mean, you have, I think it's 1 Thessalonians where Paul says, don't... See, I wrote this down because I was ahead of the curve.
Okay.
It's something like, actually, I didn't write it down, but I wrote down the reference. It's 2 Thessalonians 5:19.
We're going to have to go look. We can't paraphrase this one.
5:19. Do not quench the spirit. Do not despise prophetic utterances, but examine everything carefully. Hold fast to that which is good. Abstain from every form of evil. So that's one of the ones. I think that might be referenced somewhere else, but I don't recall. So I'm just going to lean on this one.
No, don't hand me your... Wait patiently. You don't have it?
No. As soon as you said
here. So I'm not scanning through the whole thing. 2 Thessalonians, where?
1 Thessalonians, but it's 5, starts at 19.
Yeah, I disagree with it. I'm joking. Well, I mean, the prophecies there, I mean, I think just to answer it broadly, I don't fully know. I'll say this though, what exact prophecies are they talking about? I would have to go and dig deeper.
Right.
But I think that the apostles' Acts and forward are dealing with a very unique time period. Mm-hmm. It's the setting up of the church, the launching of the church, and I think the apostles were tasked to set a foundation, and the Spirit is moving powerfully now. But there was something about laying the foundation with the apostles right after Christ ascending to heaven. The apostles needed to build credibility, and so we see a lot of manifestations, a lot of movements, a lot of supernatural movements. And so I think for the establishment of a lot of the churches, there was Spirit-led prophecy, but I think, like when we read the epistles, there's a lot of error. Mm-hmm. And I think what was happening was, well, which ones are true and which ones are not true, and a careful examination of whether the prophecies that they were receiving was truly edifying for a biblical, Christ-centered walk, or if they were leading people astray from the gospel that they had been originally given. And so, yes, I think they're getting something direct, but I would say direct in the sense that it's most of the time it's in a congregation setting.
Right.
It's collectively. It's not like somebody left their home and like, hey man, the last 8 hours I've kind of been locked up in my room and I got these utterances. And now I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely to edify the collective group, you know, and so, which adds a level of like barrier from error, right? Because you got other people listening to it and it's either an exhortation or some type of rebuke, right? And then again, it's very unique as far as that time period. I think a lot of what we see when it comes to the gifts, tongues, prophecy. Again, I would say that was specifically for that time, for the early church. And then now, you know, can things of that nature happen? I don't know. I'll just leave it like that. I've heard different things from different people that I trust, and people that I would not assume are lying. The Reformed camp would tell you that's not happening anymore. Am I so strict to say it's never happened, it's not going to happen, et cetera, et cetera? I don't know. I mean, the Lord can do anything. I'm sure there may be a circumstance where it has occurred, but I couldn't say for sure. I mean, that's a little out of my league as far as, because I'm still, again, I get two dialogues from two different sides, and I'm like, well, I mean, I think this guy's lying. You know, especially when they said, like, man, I experienced this, or I saw this, and you know, I don't know what to make of it because their convictions are very strong.
Right.
You know, I know what I believe theologically, but when I hear people talk about their experiences, I ask them, well, what are they experiencing? You know, if someone came, you know, you have like a prophet come to some kind of evangelist coming to your church, and they have a prophetic word, you know, and people say, no, it was accurate. In fact, he was talking to me and came up and I talked to the guy, and you see all these details and you're like, I mean, what is this? You know?
And sometimes I think it might even be confused with something like, I don't remember exactly what, I think it was Paul said. No, it's probably Old Testament, the sense of it, they knew what time it was.
Okay.
Like they were aware of what was going on, so they were preparing. I don't recall exactly the context. But you can have something like that. Someone comes in and tells you, this is what's going to happen. And it's not so much, I heard it from God, but I've got eyes, God has given me wisdom.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it happens. But I brought this up because I thought it was interesting. Another thing I would like to say about that is I don't know exactly when Thessalonians was written or Revelation, but I'm thinking it could even be a Thessalonians was written before Revelation, and a Revelation being prophecy was maybe what it was referencing to. I'm not sure. It's just an idea. Just throwing it out there.
Well, I mean, but then again, it's not to any kind of random. I mean, it's and then it's the apostles.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like every Joe is being taken up to the third heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's like unique certain. It's the people who walked with Christ that are experiencing those things. Everybody else is just kind of on the receiving end for the most part. I mean, I'm sure we read thoroughly right now. We'd find that one guy just it slapped them and.
Yeah. At the same time, like you mentioned, God's not limited. So I could sit here and speak all the experiences that I've had, and I could talk about all the miracles that I've seen. It's not me doing it; it's God, you know. And God's giving me the wisdom and being like, "Do not glorify yourself. This is borrowed glory. This can go away tomorrow. This is maybe just like a 30-minute thing. This is not necessarily the life that you're gonna have for the rest of your life. But like, let's say for example, I'm that person that needs to be healed, right? And let's say I'm struggling with my whole life with my legs and I cannot walk, and I choose not to obey God. I choose to be in my own world, and then God would just make that one person to be like, I'm gonna do this because God's doing or telling me, you know, in a sense, because there's no other way that you would ever understand His glory, and so this is the way it's going through. You know, it's the vessel in a sense, but not necessarily like, oh, I'm a healer now and I'm just walking around and just touching people, like, you know. But yeah, so off of experience and off of things that I've seen, it's like, well, I cannot deny it. And so God's not limited. God can do anything and it can go away. I haven't received any information of being like, go pray for this person, but I would still pray, you know, whether it works or not, it's in God's will. And that's how I end all the prayers anyway. It's like, in reality, I don't even know if this person's going to get healed or not. And I don't know if they're going to come out of this, but that conversation of me saying it out loud, maybe God already made it like, so eventually they're going to be okay. But that conversation out loud might be the only Bible they'll ever hear. And that's just God's way of just kind of planting that seed, you know what I mean?
Sure. The difference is that it's either you have the gifts, right, and then it's I think what we see is just the Lord sovereignly answering prayer through the standard means of grace. It's not necessarily that you have a gift holstered on you like a gun,
Right.
and you're able to whip it out. It's not a whip, on command. Some of these guys you see, it's just they bring it out like they have it holstered, and it's like I don't think it's that. But I do think if we're collectively praying, or we're just simply praying that the Lord will sovereignly do something in this person's life,
Exactly.
then great. If it doesn't happen, fine. I mean, either way, it's all
God's will.
It's all God's will. It's all woven in.
You mentioned something about like how people can like holster that. I saw crazy videos where they would just command God, being like, "God, heal this person now!" Like, and I'm just like, "Bro, do you want a lightning striking your head? Like, calm down."
Yeah. So some of these guys, they become Jedi. They become Jedis, and it's like, it's tempting, especially when you're like doing this.
Oh yeah, it's a show.
It's just one of those poses that just
authority. It's like
it's just a cool pose.
Yeah.
I wish it worked that way too, right? It's kind of cool, but you can blame like 90s, 80s, televangelists, because there's a showmanship behind it, right? And it doesn't look cool. Be like, oh, boom. It's just, you know what I mean?
Let me push you
back.
back.
I need to take off my coat and whip you. Yeah, it's very Benny Hinn.
Thank you guys for watching. I do appreciate absolutely everybody. Thank you, David, for obviously being here and showing your wisdom and throwing all the insights that you had. And obviously, David, thank you for being part of the guest. Being part of the podcast, throwing in your personal perspectives, and obviously, kind of diving into a big question, which this is one of the biggest questions you can have as a Christian. So, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything I said, doubt it. Go check it yourself.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Read scripture. I'm just a man who, going off of experiences and a little knowledge that I know. So even though much was said, vet it for yourself. Go read scripture. Find out if what I'm saying is true or not.
Exactly. Read the Gospels, everybody.
Read the Gospel.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Have a good one. Peace.